to Orange Gum. We're glad to see you. You're here with Wendy T and Hope Skibitsky.
Hey everyone, welcome
So,
back.
last episode, we did a whole lot of talking about digging in and being intrusive and finding out what's going on with people. And when we talked
Again.
on that, we delved into like trust, having a trusting relationship enough to like feel like you want to open up to that somebody, right?
Yeah. Or if you don't, and we're invasive anyhow.
That's right. I'm going to keep asking. And Wendy and I were kind of talking like, how do we talk about trust without just making it some crazy, you know, intangible thing about how I do or don't feel? Right. And so we said, well, what if we talked about losing it?
Yeah. I mean, has that ever happened?
Too many times to count, sadly. We as humans
Right.
suck at maintaining like trust in relationships a lot of times.
Whether it was intentional or not, right?
That's right. And
Mhm.
sometimes you can inadvertently lose that trust because you can't know what you don't know, right? And
Mm.
so you might have scars that I'm unaware of, and then I'll tread on something that you automatically feel like is a betrayal. I obviously have to love you enough to come back and communicate about that, but
Yep. And like even though we talk a lot about communication and things like that, and like the reasons why somebody did a thing or not did a thing, and the good intentions, and how somebody else felt like that was still a betrayal, right? So and I see it in every single aspect of a relationship, whether or not it was a romantic relationship, it was a friendship, whether it was a work kind of something or another, right? And so I feel like this is an area that is really critical. And then how often have we seen somebody be able to bounce back, right?
how do you
And
feel
is
about
that
it? I mean, do
possible?
you feel like you could wholeheartedly trust someone again? Or is it okay to trust someone just enough to kind of maintain a relationship? Or do you trust them in some places and not in others? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest with you. I think that that is not an answer that is like for all. I think that that is a situation dependent, right? So I will tell you, like Tammy and I have had two periods in our lifetime of friendship for, we like to say it's a 10-year friendship because I once asked her, how long have we been friends? And she's like, I don't know, 10 years. And I said the same thing. Guess what? It's like more like 3 decades. But we had two periods in our life where we didn't speak for a couple of years,
Yeah.
over broken trust and just life in general. So we've bounced back from that. We're very close, and like seamless. I was just talking with my mom today about Tammy every single morning sends me a good morning message. She's like, makes sure that I wake up every day. I shouldn't say that I wake up every day. She makes sure that I am still breathing every day, kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Like she wants to make sure that I'm literally living every single day.
Yeah.
And so, like she's a fundamentally great friend of mine
Yeah.
and
She
could not
really
imagine.
has always been there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, more than 3 decades of friendship. She knows literally by the sound of my voice from a hello if she needs to like stop everything.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
You called me one time. I was in the middle of a thing and I'm like, hey, can I? So I put the phone down. I tell the person, I'm like, I'm going to need to come back to this. I got to call her back.
I was telling my mom about your photo on your ID.
It's awful.
I'm pretty sure all of our listeners think I'm just like a big freaking mess because all I am is like hot mess express all day.
What she's talking about is I was at the VA getting my VA photo done for the things that they need. And Wendy calls and I answer the phone. I'm like, hey, honey, can I call you back? And she's like, yep, yep. And I was like, so I got off the phone and I told the woman, I'm like, I'm going to need to take this call. And so she's like, well, you already have your appointment. And so as I'm on the phone, she's like taking this camera, pulling it from her computer and like scooting it across the way, has it like this close to my face, bad lighting because I wasn't in the place where she needed the photo to take place. And I put the phone down real quick. It's the worst photo ever. How they would identify me for care, I just don't know.
Yeah, so I was telling my mom about the photo today because we were somehow talking about she's listening to the podcast, right? and we were talking about how great of a friend you are. And we were talking, and I said, I know, like her execs put her calls through, put my calls through. And I mentioned about the photo. So yeah,
Awful.
Tammy, the same, right? Where she will know just by the first, half of a second of a phone call, like how critical it is.
Yeah. No, it's good. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Everybody's there. I have great friends. And so, but we did go through 2 periods of our lifetime where there was no speaking. And, the universe just pulls it all back around. We're like, you know,
Well, one of the things I have always credited you with, which you anyhow me, but one of the things that I've always credited you with is your ability to just forgive. It's a thing that I have to still work my way through, but I feel like I'm getting better. I don't hold grudges. I don't feel like I sit around and pine over missing somebody or hate them or anything, but out of self-preservation, I've spent a lot of time in my life trimming the fat, right? Like just cutting off those growths that are cancerous and don't serve me well. I am not good. Where you will take them to chemo and radiology and you will treat those things and kind of get back to good. But you're really good
I,
at
you know,
forgiveness. You're good at that.
well, it goes both ways though, right? And so I've learned a lot from my friendship with Tammy too, right? And so there's a lot that goes both ways. She's definitely somebody who's added a ton of value to my life, you
Yeah.
know, and a lot about sticking up for myself too.
So not too long ago, we had this conversation about trust, about losing trust, and you sent me this little like short. It was like a snippet on a Taylor Swift interview, and she was being interviewed, and she said like people say that you've got to forgive and forget in order to move on. She goes, "That's not true. You
Yeah,
don't
no, you don't.
forgive, nor do you have to forget to move on, right?" So
You can just move on.
you just move on, right? So different strokes for different folks. And so
Right.
that's how I have lived my life a lot. Like if I feel like somebody is just not serving me well, or it is dangerous or cancerous, I will literally thank it for its time and walk away. But this is us kind of talking about how do you rebuild that trust? How do you come back after that trust was lost?
So I've witnessed how other people have done it and I've seen it in my own life, right? And so I think if this is now going to be a sensitive area and the other person, like if I have violated the trust and the other person is now sensitive to that thing, right? Now it's on me to work harder to
Mm.
make sure that the other person does not feel sensitive. And it's on the other person to communicate, this is how I feel about this.
That's right. So if there was lost love between us because I didn't communicate enough, or because I didn't take your calls enough, or because I didn't answer your emails or messages, or if I just wasn't there, if we were to repair this and come back together, then it would be on me to reach out more regularly, be more responsive, almost like to swing the pendulum to the point that you then feel so comfortable. And some people say, well, why should I have to do that? Well, if you care enough about that relationship that you want to keep it, the onus is on you, right?
Right, right. And so I would just say like, um, like if you I'll just use like a really easy example, right? So if I was in a relationship and I had an affair and we wanted to keep the relationship, then the other person is now believing that I would not do that again, right? And now it's on me to make sure that they don't ever have to have that feeling again.
Yeah. Never leave them wondering.
Right. And so do I want to invest that kind of effort?
Right.
So,
And we know right up front, sometimes people aren't willing to cut that thing because they're just, oh, what will I be without that thing? It's always been that thing or that person or that relationship or that team. People know that to be true. And if now all of a sudden we break up, people have to pick friends or whatever, right? And so sometimes they stay with it even if they have no intent on cleaning up on aisle nine, right?
mm, yeah. So I don't know. I just think like if that's the situation, then people have to decide whether or not they're going to commit to that kind of effort
Yeah.
on both sides, really.
And this is true in friendships and
Mhm.
in romantic relationships, but I have experienced this sort of thing in work relationships as well,
Yeah.
where you are supposed to be a unit, you're a team, and all of a sudden the that side of the team has violated your trust.
Yeah.
And so I have been injured by that myself to the point that I then started to keep new teammates at arm's length for fear of that same sort of trust violation, right?
Yeah. And so then how, like, is this a relationship that can be repaired?
Well, I would like to think so, but to your point, it was gonna take a lot of lifting on that other person's behalf to demonstrate that they were going to be as good a teammate as I,
Mhm.
and that they were going to be a loyal teammate, and that they were going
Right.
to be an honest teammate, but also a teammate that protected my blind spots instead of exploiting them.
Mhm. So, I think when we're looking at how to repair, so do we have the conversation about it and then are we both willing to make effort? You
Right,
know? And
right.
so, and I've seen the results of that where it has worked and then I've seen the results. And then I mean, I have like honestly I've really never, I shouldn't say never. I don't really walk through this, but I have it was my relationship, my marriage that it fell apart because of kind of like what I just walked through, right? So and I spent a long time trying to see if I could make it work, you know,
Yeah.
more time than I think I probably should have. And it took me a long time to get to the realization that both people have to be willing to put in that kind of effort, right? And so when I came to the realization that, there's no amount of like me hoping it's going to work that like if the other person isn't really willing to put in that kind of effort, like it's just not going to, right? And so then
Right.
I could finally kind of like, you know, because I mean, I know you heard me say this, like God can save our marriage. And so it was, and in reality, it was a chaplain 6 years later that was like, Wendy, God can save your marriage, but it will take both parties to want to put in that kind of effort. And that was really a long time for me to like kind of really come to that conclusion for myself that, okay, you know, the person that violated trust is not really willing to put in that kind of effort here. And so it's a struggle for me to feel like I can trust that person and he's not willing to
Yeah.
put in that effort.
And if we
So
did it in simple speak, like glue might be really stinking strong, but you still got to put the both parts together before it will actually create any kind of adhesion, right? So
yeah,
you can have all the glue in the world, but if both parts aren't coming together, then nothing's gonna.
yeah. And so, and I would say that, like it's not entirely the other person's responsibility either, because then I still do my part of allowing it to rebuild, right? And if I'm never going to get there, then I need to say it's never going to get there.
100%. So like I've had, relationships where there was reason for lack of trust. And if I had decided that I was going to hold every new relationship with the same skepticism that I built after that, no new relationship was going to work. None.
Right.
Because then every new relationship is already teetering on my,
All the baggage.
yeah, all the baggage. I'm now waiting for it to fail. I have the expectation it's going to fail. I'm, but it's like everything else. If I walk into a room looking to find the suck, I will find it.
Right,
Right.
right.
So if I walk into a relationship trying to find where there will be lack of trust, lost trust, I might create it.
I feel like this is like when I walk into a room expecting to find the eight-legged terrorists, I find them.
Yeah, that's right. Stay out of the corners and out from underneath the cubbies. You'll be fine.
I will miss the entire dumpster fires that are on the highway, but I will find those eight-legged terrorists everywhere.
100%. You get ready to, turn your blinker on and change lanes, and you can't see the entire vehicle beside you, but you can see a speck of dust floating around in your car.
That's it's a problem. So rebuilding, what is that, like what does that look like and how do you know? Do you just know? Is it like an instinct?
I don't think so. I think there has to be like an overage of communication. There has to be a here's what I intend to do. Is that acceptable? Here's
Mhm.
what I am doing. And it can't be, look, I did this one thing, you're not recognizing it.
It's like a grade point average, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frequency and duration of the events. And
Yeah. If
so,
you've got five zeros, 190 isn't going to fix it.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think also just owning like where I messed up.
Look what
You
I've
know?
created. A little thing popped up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me- Situational awareness, zero. 100% true. Like for my prior students, they would all see me dodge dust in the classroom. Like
I bought you a salt gun.
I did. Yes. Yeah. That way over here too.
Yeah. So you're 100% right. Whenever we're looking at kind of mending fences, there has got to be work on both sides, right? But there also has to be this foundation of like, here is our together line. If we're sticking with the mending fences sort of metaphor, right? If you don't have that post that's stable in the ground as you're working on both sides of the fence, it is not going to be very stable. And I think that post could be sort of the starting over point. Hey, we've aired our grievances. We've talked about the thing that went awry. We're now making a plan. And here's the part that each of us will play. And then check-ins. There's got to be check-ins. How am I doing? Am I satisfying this need?
So here's where, I mean, I think I've seen it happen at work, right? Where I feel a certain way about a thing. I've seen it happen in like romantic relationship, right? I've seen it happen in friendship. Here's where I think it gets really sticky. Family, right? Like family doesn't go away, like that is family.
That's right.
And so when trust has been broken in family, and then, there's a wedding or pick a holiday, um, I've explained this before. Like if you've done a thing to me, that's already a thing, right? But if you did it something to, my person, then like it's difficult for me. But now it's family. And so like how do I walk through this, right? And so how do I rebuild with this family member? And so with that communication step, like I'm gonna put forth this, but the other person has to match, and so are they willing to? And so this is where I think it's the most difficult is with family.
So, one of the things that is both really good and really bad about me is that I recognize when something is not good for my person. Like if I find that something isn't healthy, I won't do it. I will stop that activity. Tangentially, I would tell my commanders I'm never going to dive anything on a high risk activity form because I just won't do those things. Right. Um, but the same thing is true.
That is a lie.
Oh, what?
I have seen you on an like 11 gazillion foot ladder, sticking your hand into a gutter where you don't know what's inside there. That is a high risk activity.
So that's very true. But that
You
on
just
the form.
told
It wasn't
me
on the
that
form.
you did your attic something and things were falling from the sky. That is a high risk activity.
That's a high risk activity only in your book.
You're
Everybody else
investing
has to bring the attic
eagles,
ladder down.
high risk. That's all I heard from all of that. None of those things were never in my life am I doing any of those things.
Well, so our definitions of dangerous are very different. But when we're talking about family, um, I told you I have this self-preservation thing where if it's not good for my health, I'm going to stop doing it. If it's not serving well, I'm gonna let go of it. And I have had those instances even with family where I'm like, look, bloodline or not, it's not good for me. And so I'm going to need to walk away from that. And part of me, though, feels like I would gladly mend that fence if the other party would be willing to put in the work.
That's what I mean. Like both, right? Both sides have to, like, here's where it is, right? And then like both parties have to, right? And
I'll
so
tell you, it creates a fissure. Like I've had some major family events where other family members are there, and I'm like, I just can't. I can't. Out of my own self-preservation, I can't.
and
Now,
I think healthy boundaries,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm willing. Let's have the conversation. I'm willing. And I've even cracked the
Mhm.
door and it's just like gale force winds. I'm like, I'm okay.
It's like the warning, safe warning, fake warning order.
Yeah, yeah, water spouts or whatever. Yeah, so you're right.
So I think that's important to talk about too, is that we can repair, but there are also times where you have to realize like this is a healthy boundary line for my own, self-preservation and be okay with that. And this is the line. If we're willing to meet here and the other person's willing to meet here, then we can work toward that rebuild capacity, you know. But if you're the only person that's willing to go here, then that's the line.
Yeah. So in my opinion, it does not matter how bad the violation was. You can always get a relationship, regardless its type, at least back to, you know, cordial speaking terms, interactivity, and maybe even back to like friendship if both parties are working on it.
Mhm.
Do you feel like it could go back to 100%? Question mark.
I mean, I would say Tammy and I are closer friends today than we ever have been.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
that's good.
Mhm.
I just have not had an experience where both parties have been willing to repair. So I've not yet experienced the get it back to 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you and Tammy have both visited me here and I haven't been that here that long.
Yeah.
I mean, and quality time, words of affirmation, and acts of service are all high on my I feel loved radar. And so, and you're both busy.
Yeah.
Well, you're the most busy person I know. So
Self-inflicted.
I,
Self-inflicted.
but she's managing a lot right now. She just actually she just opened a new store.
Oh,
And so, yeah, she's been quite busy actually, but she made time to come out for the holidays and she's planning another visit here. And so, she knows that's important to me.
yeah,
So
no, I like it. I feel like though you have had your fair share of knocks, I feel like you've done a really great job of if that thing meant something to you, that relationship, whatever it was, man, you were going to pour all in. I really, though, liked that when you finally realize that the other person isn't going to give the same amount, you were willing to cut those ties. Like I said, I've had lots of lost love over my life. And I have mended those fences to the best of my ability. And I've gotten some of them back to cordial conversation. I've gotten some of them back to, working relationship. I have never had the privilege of someone else being willing to go all in on getting back to,
once it's there, yeah.
yeah.
I will tell you, I just have so many people who have really kind of poured into me. And so I'll tell you the reason why I'll make a lot of time, and I'll give you some really horrible examples of how I have tried to like fit everything in. I so like I talk about AFSA a lot because that was an organization that gave me some chances when I was really not in a good place. And they're in particular AFSA Division 6. So I always go back to their conference. I had been gone for 10 days. And so I was trying to figure out how I can like turn around and then go back out to the Division 6 conference. And it really just the timing was not really great timing because I was just gone for quite some time. And so I'm like, but I never miss. And this is like, these are my people. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, what I will do is I can't really make it out there for the whole thing, but I will just go out for the dinner. So here I am planning this. I will just fly out at 7 in the morning and go to dinner and then fly back. Okay. This completely makes sense.
If you have a private jet, it makes sense.
So I'm coming from Florida, going out to Las Vegas for dinner and then flying back on the same day. I know. What unfortunately happened was on Sunday night, like I came home and on the weekend, and then I stayed up all night on Sunday night to do some curriculum writing. Probably wouldn't have taken me all night, except for I like to search for the bottom of the internet. And I got really sucked into like these CEO stories. And then like there's the CEO of Pepsi, and she is a woman of color, a woman of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, which was super interesting to me. And then I'm like, oh, she's like communicating on birth rates and like, that kind of thing years before I ever studied that kind of, I mean, I just got sucked into this whole money trail of things that I'm interested in because I'm a big nerd. And but then there was all of the other things with Microsoft and empathy, and it was turned into like five other things that I was studying. And so next thing I know, it's like 6 in the morning, and head count. So now it's Monday. I work all day Monday, And Tuesday, I am, doing all whatever I was doing. It's like 1:30 in the morning, technically on Wednesday, and I'm packing for the trip on Wednesday. And so I have my uniform, my mess dress, everything. Somehow discover I have no shoes. I like got rid of my shoes. And so, and then I was like, don't you have plain black shoes? I'm like, do you know me? Like, no, I don't have plain black shoes. Like, I'm at home right now, at home, and these are the shoes I'm wearing.
I love those shoes.
Like, what, everybody's like, you work from home. And I'm like, I know, but I still wear nice shoes. So the
My work
so
from
Wednesday.
shoes.
So, it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm trying to pack and my brain has just stopped working. And I always finish up everything at night, not in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but I'm leaving at 4:15 in the morning for my 7 a.m. flight. And I realized that my brain's not functioning enough where I have to just go to sleep. I'm trying to wash my face with like hair stuff and everything. Like my brain has just stopped. So I go to bed and I wake up to my phone giving me the gate alerts. And I'm like, did I sleep through my alarm, which has never happened? My alarm was set for 6:15. 6:15 for my 7 a.m. flight. And it takes me like 45 minutes to get to the airport. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I just got up, went pee, brushed my teeth, and left with what was packed, which remember, I didn't finish packing. So I just left. I somehow miraculously make it to the gate by 6:20. So I left at like 5:15, make it out to the airport, which is like 45 minutes away, park, get through security, get to the gate by 6:20, make it on the flight, get out to LA or to Vegas. I have not showered. Had to get a hotel room now because I need a shower. I have to Instacart stuff to get ready, all the things, right? Make it through the day, do all the fun things, hug all the faces, do the dinner, check in for my flight to head home, sitting at the gate. And I'm like, man, there's no plane here. Find out like the gate has moved and I didn't realize that. And now I'm real behind because I have to move over to this thing. I mean, I was just hot mess express all day. Get over to the new place, get on 5 minutes before the doors close, land at like 7 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, get off the plane, almost back to like security when I realized I left my phone on the plane.
Yikes.
I was like not capable. So it was really important for me to be there. It's just like family because, they're the people that helped me rebuild as a human when I was a mess. But I also realized this came out the same time that the Stop, Drop, and No came out. I was like, hey, I need these life lessons.
Practicing what I'm preaching.
You know what? I listened to the podcast and I was like, oh, when it says work in progress, I very much meant that.
I
But
love
they were, these were the teammates that, kind of helped me through that hard time and help rebuild trust in people.
right. And now you are literally willing to give of life, limb, eyesight, and sanity to give back. I get it, right? It's good.
You too can life. I give people hope.
It's good. Well, so I mean, I think it's a valuable lesson, right? To talk about like if somebody then helps you figure out how to rebuild that trust. If somebody helps you, and by somebody I mean somebody's, that we need not forget that once we're back on track, right? Like, how do you
Mhm.
maintain those friendships, those relationships, those connections that are going to be there should you ever need them? Is by making sure that you then foster relationships by proving you're going to be there if they need
That's
you.
right. And you celebrate people's wins.
That's
Yeah.
right. I could
Sorry, I
talk about
segued.
all of this with you all day long.
I know.
We've run out of time.
I know.
And so I will just remind everybody, please take a look, find us out there at orangegumpodcast.com. You can send us a message, tell us what you want to hear, tell us what you think. Just talk to us. We don't care. And you can reach us at orangegum_podcast@gmail.com. And always, you can find us anywhere you listen. You can watch us on YouTube. Please send us a comment. We'd love to hear what you've got to say, and we're having guests come on soon. And so we look forward to sharing with you what's coming next time. And until then,
That's right.
we'll see
Mhm.
you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.